Hello. Welcome to yet another Kubestronaut check-in session. My name is Mumshad Monambed, and I'll be your host today. Um, Today is the 23rd of October. This is check-in session 13. So we started the Kubestronaut series at the beginning of the year. And yeah, we're almost towards the end. By now, many of you should have become a Kubestronaut. And we'll look at who all have passed the certifications and Kubestronaut journeys in the past couple of weeks since we had the last check-in session. Once again, welcome to everyone. If you're here, do send a message in the chat. Just let us know who you are, where you're from, and we'll get started in a few minutes. And I also have a guest who's waiting here backstage, who will be here to share his journey to the through the Kubestronaut series. So we'll get that going as well. But yep, I see a few messages. We have Clive from Cape Town, South Africa. We have Adnan. We have Oscar. We have Kaini Rakim from Morocco. So do send your messages here in the chat. And meanwhile, I'll share my screen and we can just get started. All right, so this is check-in session 13. What we'll do is I'll announce some of the Kubestronauts and those who have completed the certifications in the past couple of weeks since we've had the last check-in session. On my end, I had a couple of travels. I went to Philippines, Manila, and I had a keynote that I delivered at Globe Telecom, and we also had a meeting in Kerala that I went a couple of weeks back as part of one of the meetings. So today we will go through and announce and celebrate some of those who have completed the certifications. We'll have, I'll also update on the new course launches. We'll do a check-in on the leaderboard and see who's leading the cohorts. And then we'll bring in the guest and hear his side of the story. All right. So past couple of weeks, we had Purnima, who's completed her CKAD certification. So congratulations to Purnima. We have Ihor, who's done the CKAD certification as well. We have Jeremy, who's done the KCNA and KCSA and on the way to CKAD right now. Philip, who's done CKAD, KCSA, and the KCNA certifications. We have Bamba Muhammad, who's done the CKA certification. Kushal, who's done the CKA certification. Brajesh Sahu, who's done the KCNA, the KCSA, KCNA, KCSA, and the KCNA and KCSA. And we have Fabrice, who's done the CKA certification. Sunny, who's also done the CKA. And we have Muhammad Ahmed, who's done the CKA as well. And we have Marcos, who's done the KCNA certification. Just continuing on. Here are the Kubestronauts in the past couple of weeks. We have Egi Ardian, who's completed the Kubestronaut series. So congratulations to Egi. We have Julian Fostier, who's also completed the Kubestronaut certification. So congratulations. We have Onur, who's also become a Kubestronaut. So congratulations to Onur Omar there. We have Hemalada, who's also completed her 5 certifications and become a Kubestronaut. We have Jerome, who's also completed and become a Kubestronaut. Dara, who'll be joining us in one of the future sessions. He's also completed his Kubestronaut certification. Peter Turner also has completed the Kubestronaut certification. Wissam Kadri, congratulations to Wissam. We have Emmanuel, who's also completed the Kubestronaut certification. Ines and Suyash Gupta also completed the Kubestronaut certification. Karthik, and we have Mikhail, who's done the Golden Kubestronaut certification. So track. So we have congratulations to Mikhail. I think he's off probably one of the few in Poland who's done the Golden Kubestronaut certification. And we have Gökhan Turhan, who's also become a Golden Kubestronaut by completing all 14 Kubernetes certifications. So huge congratulations to both of them. And finally, of course, we have our own Nuran Mohammed, who works at KodeKloud, and she's also done her Golden Kubestronaut certification. So we have a Golden Kubestronaut track that's running in parallel. So if you're interested in the Golden Kubestronaut track that goes way beyond Kubernetes and covers a lot of other CNCF projects, so do sign up for that. I have a link for that coming up. By the way, this weekend, we are also supporting the Kubernetes Community Days in Sri Lanka. So we have a team there. And if you're in Sri Lanka, do head to the Kubernetes Community Days and meet with our team over there. We also have something very interesting that we've been working on, something you've all been asking for a long time, and it's finally coming. So if you want early access, go to kodekloud.com/coming soon. We have a bunch of new courses that we had recently released. So there's the Fundamentals of SRE course that was just out a couple of days back. We had a Cloud Code for Beginners, a GitOps Certified Associate course, and the AWS Cloud Formation course. We also have the Cloud Native Platform Engineering, the CNPA course that's out now. I'm migrating to Datadog course, the AZ700, as well as an NA10 Zero to Hero course. So do check those out. And we have a couple of interesting courses that are coming up. There's the Kyverno Certified Associate, and then by doing course on managing Kubernetes with Rancher, and these are going to come out soon. All right, so this is so we recently started the 4th cohort of Kubestronaut this month. So it's the applications are still open. So if you have not joined the cohorts yet, please do join using the links that I'll show in the next slide. So if you are in the cohort 1, by now you should have almost completed all of the certifications. So you've started at the beginning of the year, and you must have gone through and you completed most of the certifications by now. But if you have not, most likely you're either doing the CKS or the KCSA, two of the tougher ones in the list. So do push through and get that out. And you can see for the other cohorts where you should be by now. So if you go to, we renamed the link to these here. So if you go to cohorts.kodekloud.com, you'll be able to see the cohorts. Let me just pull that up. So if you go to courses.kodekloud.com, you'll be able to, you'll land here. So as I said, there's a Golden Kubestronaut track that we recently started. So if you are interested in going beyond Kubernetes and exploring other tools in CNCF, this is the track for you. So there's already 74 plus enrolled. The applications are still open, and we'll be closing this, the applications to this by the end of October. So do join in if you're interested. There you can see there are a few Golden Kubestronaut already, and there are some others who are planning for it. And this, as you can see, is has all the 14 certifications that are needed to become a Golden Kubestronaut. If you go back, we have the Kubestronaut cohorts. There's about 800 plus in each of them. The last one of the year, which is the one in October, is still in progress. So if you haven't started already, do join, and the applications will close in a few days from now. But as you can see, there are some who have already started and have completed a few certifications. And if you look at the July cohort, there's about 800. We have Aditya Krishna Kumar and Suyash Gupta, who has recently completed their all the 5 certifications and are ranking at the top. And you can see by March is around when we're going to be, we're planning to get everyone certified. All right. So yeah, do check in on the leaderboard and course and start your applications. And if you're new, again, if you're new here, some of the benefits of joining the cohort. Joining the cohort is absolutely free. Once you join the cohort, you get access to a private Discord group where you can talk to others who are going along with the journey and exchange information, exchange knowledge, help each other out in support each other out in completing the certification. So we had received about 500 plus who have registered interest in the Golden Kubestronaut track. So as you can see, 100 plus have already started the joining the cohort. So there's still spots left. So do join the cohort if you're interested in going beyond just Kubernetes. If you have, for those who are in India, we had this partnership with Linux Foundation last time. We announced it a couple of months back. So you can get, if you go to this QR code or the link that we'll be sharing, you can go there and get an extra discount. For those outside, if you use the code 30 code, you might be able to get about a 30% off on other certifications. All right, having said that, I think it's time to bring in our special guest. So we have Daniel who will be joining us today. So yeah, there you are.
Everyone.
Hey Daniel.
Hello.
Hey Daniel, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. So Daniel, maybe do you want to get started with a little bit of introduction about yourself, what you do, where you live, what you do?
Sure. So, hey everyone, welcome to the show. My name is Daniel Gaina. I'm a senior cloud engineer. I work for a payment company called AV. They're a in-person payment provider and orchestrator. And yeah, just pretty much dealing with the cloud every day and all the fancy new technologies.
Awesome. So when we spoke earlier, Daniel, you mentioned you have a very interesting story of how you got into tech, your past life and how you got into tech, and then how you have been continuously reskilling and upskilling yourself and getting new and better opportunities. I think I felt that was very inspiring, and I wanted you to come here and share that story with everyone else. And I also, maybe we can also, towards the end, we can also move into talking about what your plans are going forward, and what you're planning to get certified on and things like that. I know you have the AWS Golden Jacket too, so congratulations on that.
Yep.
That also takes a lot going through and getting all of that certification. So maybe we start with your background a little bit, maybe life prior to the tech life, and maybe share with us a little bit about how you got into tech.
Yeah, sure. So, prior to tech life, I was doing, I went to university to do like some degree in mechanical engineering. I realized that is not something that I wanted to pursue, for the future. And then I migrated to UK, where I currently live, due to the fact that I knew English. So, and for a while, because I didn't have a university degree, I kind of did some sort of odd jobs, just working in a bar or in a restaurant, just like, whatever people start from the bottom. Somehow I fell into taxi. So I worked for a taxi company in their office for a bit, and then I became a taxi driver. But I think after a couple of years of doing this odd jobs, I realized that I want something more for myself. I want to have something that challenges me, and a job where I don't hit some sort of cap. And then IT kind of fit the bill. I had some friends from university that were working in UK in IT, and they kind of like suggested me to try IT, and specifically AWS. At that time, AWS was still hot. I think it's still hot as we move forward and stuff. And it was something that was suggested to me, and I was like, sure, I'll give it a try. And then I think it was like right the year when the pandemic hit, and then I started in January slowly. But by April, I kind of UK went into lockdown. I lost my job. So that was the moment when I decided myself, that's it. I'm gonna just fully pursue IT. So from there, I've just studied for AWS. I focused purely on AWS because I wanted to have a direction. I set a goal to become a cloud support engineer or cloud engineer. I think at that time there was a bit of a misconception. People told you that you can become a solution architect. Later I found that that's, you know, like you need more years of experience and so on for that. But I landed on like, you know, any sort of support engineer or any sort of cloud engineer role. And then I kind of backtrack what kind of skills do I need to have and what kind of technologies I need to learn. And then I've studied those. I took AWS certifications, and that help, and also with the help of LinkedIn, I would say, because at that time firstly, when I started, I felt like I was alone on this journey, but then I realized that online was a full community of people helping each other, sharing knowledge, sharing all sort of materials, and encouraging each other. So yeah, I kind of started to become more public on the LinkedIn, started to be more part of the journey, because I felt like, you know, if I want to be a cloud engineer, I have to also believe when I say it, but also be, you know, surrounded by people that do the same thing as me, right? The same thing that I want to do. So yeah, just immerse myself into the community, starting publicly expose myself into what do I learn every day, what kind of certifications I get, and with that support and with the support of other people on LinkedIn, I managed to get my first job in IT, and from there it just kind of snowrolled into, you know, what I am today. But it was a lot of like challenges, hoops. I had to change roles. Sometimes I had to constantly upskill myself. If you want to grow in this industry, you always have to learn new technologies. Always have to invest a lot of time into doing into understanding, you know, like how to implement different things, how everything interconnects. So yeah, like all that led me to where I am today.
Yeah, pretty interesting story. So maybe if you could go back to your early days and tell me a little bit about, because you said you are you had a mechanical engineering background or mechatronics, right?
Yep.
And how was that first step into the IT world? Like, did you did you have the basics of, like, let's say, system administration or like Linux, or, you know, what are you know, computer architecture, things like that? Did you find that like really hard to get started with, and then how did that translate into the cloud space?
Yeah. So when I started, I really didn't know anything. I mean, apart from a basic computer user, and, you know, like I play games once in a while, like I really did not know nothing. I remember my first thing that I Googled first IT term was, what's an IP, right? That was one of the first things that I've actually looked. In terms of how hard it was, I think in my mind, like, you know, I came with the mentality of like, you know, of course, when you do something the first time, you will not know. However, if you do this every day in like a month or a year or 2 years, or depending on your capacity and stuff, you will know it, right? So that was the only thing that I had in my mind. I didn't think about how am I going to get there. I just was like, I need to be better than yesterday, and I need to do some efforts to advance. That was my only thing in my mind. So all in all, like I feel like, and even nowadays, I think it's the same mentality that I applied, the same thing. I always try to challenge myself to learn new things. But I think that a lot of people, and myself included, was thinking at some point that maybe I'm not cut for IT, maybe I'm not smart enough and stuff. But I think that if you don't invest time into it, and if you don't try and, you know, look in different places, look at different courses, and do all sort of, you know, deep dive analysis on different concepts, you will never succeed. So it's more like, you know, I knew I have to try, and I tried every day, and yeah, you get to a point where you realize that there's so much about IT. You still have a lot to learn, but I'm definitely further than when I look at day one or something like that.
Yeah, makes sense. So how did you start the cloud journey? Like, what was your first step into cloud? You said AWS, of course, but like, how did you get started with AWS, and how maybe did you get hands-on access when you started learning? How did you go about all of that?
So when I started learning, it was there was a thing called Linux Academy. And then I started with that, and I think they moved into KodeKloud Guru, and then they got bought by Pluralsight. But at that time, I started with a subscription there from a friend that he was working in IT. Because COVID hit, I lost my job. I didn't really had a lot of money to invest into courses and stuff. So through him, I managed to get some slides and courses and videos, and then I studied based on that. And I started with the AWS Solution Architect certification, because there was a lot of like my friend was telling me that cloud practitioner already englobates the knowledge into that. So I started straight with the associate certification. It was a bit hard. I think now I suggest people to start with the most basic certifications, because it was like at that time, I didn't know how is an exam. I didn't know there was lots of things to learn at that time. And I feel like if you take a smaller one and then you just kind of pass it, even though it takes, less time and stuff, it gives that boost of motivation that, hey, I can do this. You see how the exam platform is, you see everything. So yeah, but I started with that one, and then I just moved into multiple certifications. I think the goal was not necessarily the fact that, like I wanted to have them all or something. I think for me, I was like, how can I go to work every day without panicking that I don't know what I'm doing, and then feel more comfortable? Because when you get hired into an IT role and then they trust you to do certain things, you also have to make sure that you know what you're doing, because IT system computers, like, they do what you tell them to do. If you tell them something wrong, then they'll throw an error and stuff. So I wanted to feel comfortable, and I felt like my knowledge, if I study, work hard, practice a lot of stuff, then whenever I go and do my job, I'm more comfortable, not panicking as much in terms of, like I don't know what I'm doing and stuff. But then later I understood it's okay to not know sometimes too. It's not a big deal. You just read documentation, look and stuff. But yeah, I think inside me was that kind of feeling of like, I want to feel comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So tell us about your first job. Like, how did you crack maybe the first interview, or how did you even apply and get a call the first time?
I applied through like 300, 400 jobs, and none of them called me. My role came, there was this woman on LinkedIn, and she had a big network of people, like 30,000 connections. And then she, out of the kind of her heart, she would post other people messages and saying, hey, I'm X, I'm looking for a role into this industry, and I have this experience, certification, so on. Through her, I reach out, I sent her my message, she posted, and somebody reached out and said, hey, would you like to come for an interview? I said, fine, yes. And my first role was not AWS related, and it was like a network support engineer. And I took it anyway, because I realized that it's not about getting AWS specifically. I just needed to get experience in the industry. And I remember I went to the interview, and there were typical interview. I answered some questions about Linux, about security. He asked me standard question like how DNS works and stuff like that. He asked Python questions, I remember. And I don't know, in the end, he was saying something, questions like, hey, how much money would you like, and stuff like that. And I said, look, I don't care. As long as you give me what's a fair market rate, and then I have enough to pay my rent and pay my food and whatever, then I'm happy. Like I'm just willing to find somebody where they can accept me like that, and then I'll work and prove them that they didn't make a mistake. And also they asked the following question, something like, if we don't accept you, what would you do? And I said, I will go back home, I will study harder, and I'm sure one day somebody will accept me. And as they accept me, I will give my all to prove them and to help them and stuff. I think all in all, like those kind of stuff, I think counted a lot to the interviewer. And he told me that how he see himself to that chair 20 years ago, because that's how he started in IT too. And I feel like that's kind of how I got that job. And I feel like I tell people too that it's not 100% about technical skills. It's also about some part of our soft skills, and about how you relay the message, how you show the passion and the drive. So, because there's a lot of people that focus fully on technical skills. If you get a job as a junior or as a, like a support engineer and stuff, they expect you to not know everything. They want you to have that drive inside to progress, to advance, and so on. And I think that's what I showcase. So yeah.
Yeah. So what was the role? Can you
So it was
tell me
a
a bit more about that?
was a network support engineer. And as I mentioned, the company was some sort of reseller of security solution and networking solutions, and then we would help clients with any sort of like if a client bought Palo Alto solutions, and we will act as support engineers for that and help them to set it up and any sort of troubleshoot and stuff like that. Anything related to networking, security, email security, firewall, network firewalls, and so on. So yeah.
Yeah. So basically, your desire to continue to learn, and even if you don't get the job, you would go back and continue to learn.
Yes.
I think that played a role. That attitude played a role in closing that job.
Yeah. Exactly.
Great. And then you went on to like doing a lot more certifications and getting the golden AWS. Like, how long did that
Correct.
take, and how was that journey?
So obviously my learning journey never stopped. And then I knew that even though I got the role, this is not like, oh, that's it, I can relax now and stuff like that. I always learned. And I went to take a couple of generic certifications. I got like the CompTIA Linux Plus, the CompTIA type certifications like Linux Security Plus, Network Plus, just because the security and the network was part of what I was doing. So it was quite helpful, but also full of general fundamental knowledge, which really helpful. Also continue with my AWS certifications, even though I wasn't working with AWS, but I knew that one day I will need them. So yeah, just continue through that. And after 6 months, another company reached out, and the next one I had was a cloud support engineer, and it was for a company that was handling Linux servers, OpenStack technologies, and Metal as a service technologies. And I think at that time I moved because that job had cloud in the name, so it was cloud support engineer.
Yeah.
But it was still dealing with like Linux servers and scripting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it had a cloud support engineer in the name, and that helped a lot because it's like it was a step closer to what I tried to achieve. And in that role, again, I studied a lot, I've learned a lot on, and I always had the mentality of like, I need to progress, I need to do better, I'm looking for other opportunities. And yeah, after a while, that role too, I landed my first full AWS role for an AWS partner, where I dealt with AWS on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, by that time, I think I already had like 5 AWS certifications. And I continue with the specialty ones after I got all the associate ones, continue with the specialty ones. And then I think in the end, after I worked for them, for that company for a year. Then I moved to another AWS partner company. And while I was there, I got the golden jacket because I realized that I had like, I think 11 or 12 by that time. And it was like 1 more or 2 more. And I think the last one was the machine learning specialty one, which I have to say, because I'm not from that field, it was like a really challenging one. So yeah.
So how do you go about that? Like learning something that you're not familiar with, especially that like your your educational background itself is completely different. So you already took a big jump to move into the IT, the cloud space. Now within that, you're now learning machine learning, which is like completely outside of of this whole domain. So how did you go about that? Like, and what's your like usual approach of doing a certification or planning for a certification?
Yeah. So I think when I started, one of the first thing that I thought is like, I should not underestimate any certification, especially when it comes to specialty and all sort of stuff. I do take my time studying, know how people go about it. Some people like it to get in a month. They've set some sort of challenges. I just told myself, whenever I'm ready, I'm ready. I started with, I think the mentality while I was in engineering, in IT specifically, it came to a lot of times I would think about a task and I will only think about the end result and be like, how do I do all this? And I was like, oh, I don't know. And I not necessarily panic, but I don't get to see how I would get there. But then if you only think at the next step is like literally the first step, well, how would I start? and stuff. And then from that point, you start and you do a little bit, and then, okay, how do I get to the next step, and so on. So you break the problem into smaller chunks, and then you just kind of focus on the next step. It's much more easier, more manageable. And that's exactly what I did with the certifications too. So obviously I realized there was a domain where I didn't had experience, I didn't know, and I just kind of took a course on whatever the major platforms, and just kind of start looking, okay, what are the concepts, what are the things that I need to study. And because it was something that I didn't really have experience with, I took courses on many different platforms. For example, like I take a course on a platform A, which with a certain instructor, and then go through that. But I also go to platform B with a different instructor and take that one too, because sometimes different people have different teaching styles. So then whatever works for you type of thing. But I just wanted to see other perspectives too, how other people do it, and so on. So yeah, just kind of took it bit by bit. And as I said, I think it was like a super challenging one for me. But I'm so happy I've learned it, because to be honest, in my opinion, as somebody who's taken many AWS or like certifications in general, I realized that it doesn't make you some sort of expert. It just makes you aware of what's out there, and you have some sort of knowledge about something else apart from, maybe what you do day to day. And even though you can't necessarily, go deep into it, but at least you can hold a high level conversation around that and so on. So yeah, I think it really helped.
Great. So do you get support from the companies that you work with for getting these certifications?
Yeah. So I think I have to say that I've been lucky and got support from the companies that I've been working with, either paying for the certification, either time. I know that's not the case for a lot of people out there. But what I have to say to that is that when I started, I didn't have no support. I spent my own money without a job and stuff. It was a bit hard to spend your own money. But I kind of felt like it was an investment into myself. So it was like, how people spend money to go on a holiday because they want to relax. I was like, I need to spend this kind of money onto just kind of better myself, upgrade, and so on. So yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to think about it. And how do you like convince your company to support you in this, right? Because I know that a lot of times students have asked us, like, how do I get my company to pay for this certification? Like, do you have any tips there?
I think it depends a lot on the company. And obviously, companies have budgets, and there's, whenever you ask your manager or whoever you ask to pay for something, then, it's not necessarily up to them. It's a lot about the budget and all this kind of stuff. So it could be an objective thing instead of subjective. It's not like my manager doesn't want me to have this, and so on. So obviously, understanding that it's one. I think that one of the statements that I usually say is that, hey, this doesn't make me an expert necessarily, but it can help up speed up deliveries. It can help up speed up make our environment more secure, for example, or knowing what's out there, we can avoid certain early mistakes that will require us to refactor later on. That will be much harder, and so on. So providing different sort of arguments that by training at least some of people, because even if companies do offer to their staff this kind of facility, some of them do not take it, because somehow I feel that specifically people that take these certifications, and some of them that they're older, I have a lot of respect for them, because as somebody who hasn't been in school for like at least 10 years, to take my own time to study and take an exam knowing that I might fail and stuff takes a lot of courage to do that. And I feel like some people don't do that because they're afraid of failure. And then some people do that because they want to prove to themselves and so on. I just kind of felt that, just by learning and by getting the knowledge, then it doesn't necessarily make you 100% better, but it will improve you for some, it will definitely help you and the company that you work for. So that's kind of usually my argument to the managers.
Yeah. How have you found the skills you learn through certifications and the applicability to whatever the relevance to what you're working on? what are your thoughts about that? Like, how relevant has the certifications been to the actual work you do on a day-to-day basis?
I can say that certain certifications are not as relevant as others. I remember I took a Jenkins course a while. I've never dealt with Jenkins, but at some point, not necessarily, I never dealt on a day-to-day with Jenkins, but at some point there was a customer that had an issue and I looked at it. I think I solved it within like an hour or something, just because I had some sort of understanding. What is the problem? Where do I have to look? What are the settings and so on, right? Sometimes it helps, but sometimes I definitely can say that it doesn't help. But the point is that it's not necessarily, like, I like to say that an information that you never learned and you go look it for the first time, it feels different versus an information that you once learned, you forgot, but then second time you go and look at it, right? So I think some of the courses, like, I don't know, I've done AWS Advanced Networking Specialty, which is one of the hardest one, and they talk about a lot about direct connects and pub VIFs and private VIFs and so on. I have to say I've never dealt with that, right? However, if the situation would appear, maybe I wouldn't know right from the get-go, but if I were to look at the documentation, and I would understand much quicker than never ever had to deal with that, right? So yeah.
Agree. So the Jenkins example you mentioned, even if it's not Jenkins, but anything else in the same area, you would now be able to get an idea because you took that one, right?
Yes.
Like maybe GitHub Actions or GitLab pipelines or things like that. Now you'll be able to connect that concept across all of these other tools too. So just learning one kind of also broadens your spectrum, your knowledge across the other tools in the spectrum. Yeah. Cool. So, and how long did it take for you to do all the, what is that, 13, 14 certifications for Golden Kubestronaut?
So no, it's for the AWS Golden Jacket. I actually
AWS
took,
Golden Jacket, sorry.
I actually took 3 years, and mostly because I didn't really want it to be a sprint. I wanted it to be more of a marathon. So like I would take a certification, then wait 3-4 months, and sometimes some of the certification took me that long to prepare. Not necessarily the preparing in the terms of like everyday study for like 3-4 months, but sometimes life gets in your way. You have family, you have work that sometimes you don't have enough time. So I would say probably I would have had some sort of goal of like 2 certification per year or 3 per year, and then within 3 years I've achieved those. Yeah. But some people, like obviously, if I were to start now and do them again, all sort of them, some people I think I've even heard somebody that took all 13 of them in 1 month. So like, I mean, if you already know you already word it and stuff, and it depends. For me, it took that much because it was like I started new. I didn't know anything. Like, but if you come from a developer background and so on, then you would see, you will have a different sort of experience and higher ability to absorb all the information, and it will be much easier, and you can do it much quicker. So
yeah, awesome. By the way, those who are listening in, if you have any questions for Daniel or me, do leave that in the chat, and we'll start picking that in the next 5 to 10 minutes or so. So Daniel, so after AWS, do you want to tell us like why the move to, or why you started looking into Kubernetes? Do you have that at your work? And what's the plan going forward?
Yeah. So I've had like interaction with Kubernetes here and there, not necessarily like on production workloads and so on, but I've seen it around, and but most of the time I prefer not to engage with it, because I realize that not only that it's something hard, I've always perceived Kubernetes as something hard from what I can see my network and so on, and I just kind of felt like I haven't finished specialize myself on AWS. I haven't finished learning everything, and probably I'll never will, but like just wanted to stick on my lane with AWS. Recently I've changed my mentality because I kind of got to a point where I can say that very comfortable in AWS with pretty much everything. So I just kind of needed a new challenge, because I think a question exactly after the Golden Jacket was like, so now what? As in, where do I go from here and stuff? So I just focused mostly on work and just work experience, not necessarily taking any certification. Sometimes that's important too. So it's not necessarily to just, always tackle a certification. But yeah, my company are moving towards EKS, and then I saw that as an opportunity to get myself into that. So, and obviously help them to do this. And I feel like for me, exactly like in IT when I started in 2020, I do have to say I'm pretty lucky because EKS now is not what it was EKS 5 years ago or something, right? There were way harder things to do, and now pretty much many things are simplified. Some of them are more complex. I do have to agree to that too, but it's definitely simpler to start learning EKS. There's more knowledge out there. There's more learning materials out there. So I think that, I would say that I'm pretty good. I have a good feeling about starting in the now. Some people started early. It all depends on probably what they did. But for me, yeah, it just felt a good moment to start right now. So yeah.
Great. So what have you, how have you started, and where are you right now, and what are your plans going forward?
So I looked at the Kubernetes certifications, how many of there are, and then I know about this Kubestronaut program, and I found it interesting. So I told myself, like, you know what, I'm just gonna start taking at least the Kubestronaut ones and stuff, just because I just wanted to have this title too. I thought it's interesting because I'm the type of guy when I start learning something, I want to know more and more, and I feel like the more you know, the more comfortable you are with, the more you feel good about it. And remember, I told you about that confidence that I have if I come to work, I know what I'm doing and stuff. So that's part of it. And then yeah, just I looked what people recommends, what are the tracks of how people recommends to take them and stuff. So yeah, just decided to go into that, and I started with a CKNA. I'm still getting used to all these
KCNA?
acronyms. Yeah.
KCNA, yeah.
Just because I thought the first CKNA and the CKSA are question based, while the other ones are hands-on, right? So I realized that I would rather take first the question-based one and then the hands-on, which I have to say I'm really happy it's hands-on. Like I love. Yeah. I think it's a good concept to teach you hands-on to the exam and see how it goes.
Yeah.
I haven't yet tried one because I feel like I need to, even though I've gone through the course quite a bit, and I can say I could try one, but I'm still not yet comfortable enough. Because as I said, I don't want to underestimate it, but at the same time, I know it's in my interest, as in I could study, and then just pass the CKA and the CKE and CKS one much quicker than normal and stuff. So yeah, but probably my route will be, as I said, the first two ones, which were question based, and then CKA I taught, and then CKAD, and then CKS. However, I've also heard that taking CKAD before CKA is also something good. And I'm not 100% sure, because I think I've heard something that there's maybe a requirement. So I think for CKS is a requirement to have CKA before that, something like that too. So I haven't fully looked into that.
Yeah. No, this is great. I mean, a great plan, right? So because you're a beginner to Kubernetes, even if you haven't really worked on it, then I also recommend doing the KCNA and KCSA. So these are entry-level certifications. They're multiple choice questions, so no real pressure on the hands-on skills, right? But yeah, the next ones, the CKA, CKAD, and the CKS are the ones that require hands-on practice. And like our courses and labs have, we have a lot of labs, so you'll gain a lot of hands-on experience going through our labs. And and what are your plans? Like, are you planning to do those next? Because you've already done the KCSA and KCNA, is that right?
So I do have the KCNA. I do have the exam for KCSA scheduled for Tuesday. And then, to be honest, I even started looking at CKS. I know because the thing is, like, I feel comfortable with security topics, and I feel like, and I'm quite interested. Now, it's not necessarily that, like, I follow a structured path and start this course and look at that. I sometimes look at different things at the same time. So I quite like that. So, I could jump from, CKA to a CKS topic in certificates or something like that, right? But yes, in terms of path, I will definitely take that path because I feel like that's probably the best one if you have experience and so on. But I feel everybody's experience is different. Some people understand some concept quicker, some people don't. But yeah, probably CKSA, and then I plan to take by the end of the year CKA. And who knows if that goes well, as in I already seen that I still have like 2 months. Maybe CKAD I would manage to. I highly doubt I would manage to land CKS2 by the end of the year because that seems like a lot of material. And again, I don't want to sound it like some sort of marathon. I do this, I answer the questions and just like I want to take it and fully absorb in. I want to take the experience. I want to on and so on. So
yeah, I mean that's the goal, right? I mean that's really learning the topic, getting hands-on experience. That's the overall goal for getting certified. So the certification itself is just that's the destination, but like this journey that you're going through of learning and practicing and breaking and fixing and learning, I think that's the core. And that's the real value here. So yeah, awesome. You also mentioned that you had some tips for like building maybe a personal brand on LinkedIn and other things. So would you like to share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So one of the things that I've recently got into it. So obviously I know about your platform for many years. I've been on your platform for many years. I bought like pro subscriptions for a couple of years because I always felt that helped me. And one of the things I remember from when I started, it was that KodeKloud engineer thing where you could do different tasks, acting like an employee in a company and stuff. And I felt that was brilliant because he gave you the hands-on. And I think I even put in one of my interviews for a company that I had this experience, and they were like, "What is this KodeKloud? What work do you do there?" And I said, "No, it's just like a practice company. It's just like a learning company where you can practice different things and so on." So yeah, it was pretty good. And then I've noticed the cohorts recently and so on, just because I mean, I love this community thing and I love to be part of it. And through the community, through people posting things, I learn different things. And as I said, I learned of the community and I like the fact that I joined there. And as you show the leaderboard and so on, it kind of felt a lot of gamified. And I like that because like I'm quite competitive. So it was pretty good. So yeah, just through my through the platform, through the exercises and so on, just plan to take that. I even forgot the question. I'm sorry.
No, I was asking about because you mentioned that personal branding on LinkedIn, right?
Oh yeah,
I think
personal brand. Yes. Because as I said, through connecting with people that do this, right? So for example, that I connect with people that are Kubestronauts or they do Kubernetes, and I remember in AWS summit in London, I met a guy who was golden Kubestronaut, and that's when I was like, "Tell me more about it. What is this? How do you get there?" and so on. So I kind of felt like, I felt his passion when he was talking about it, and I was like, I feel like this is me on the AWS too, what I do and so on. So I would love to explore this more. So yeah, just through the people they post and so on. And obviously I plan to become somebody myself that I've done a couple of posts on like some of the thoughts that I think about Kubernetes, or like plan to share some Kubernetes learning and so on, and hopefully that will help other people too. But at the same time, it will also bring opportunities. People connect with you because they say, "Hey, I've seen that you study this. I'm also interested in this. Let's connect," right? So that helps you building a network around you of people. And I wouldn't necessarily say that if you have a massive problem at work in terms of like a Kubernetes thing that you don't know, you wouldn't necessarily post on LinkedIn, or maybe you would if it's not some sort of sharing some sort of sensitive details. But there are different forums like on Slack, on Discord that you can join, and there are people can help you with either you're either learning either the concept, either to explain certain things. I've actually seen yesterday on a Discord a post about a guy posted a manifest, and then somebody reviewed it and told him that you're missing some indentation and stuff. And like he was like, "Oh my god, thank you." Because I heard one of the thing is the indentation and stuff. So yeah, the guy was very grateful. So I thought like, this is nice. This is good. It makes you feel good when people come and help you, and you're surrounded by people who share the same passion. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, Daniel, that's all from my end. Again, thank you for your time, for joining in, and I want to wish you all the best to the future learnings. And first of all, congratulations to everything you've achieved in the past few years. I think your story is very inspiring, and all the best to the future certifications and to becoming a Kubestronaut. We want you back here, maybe with the Golden Kubestronaut, and share your experience and tips
I would love
for
to, yes.
having. Yeah, that would be
I would
great.
love to. I would love to. We will see. But definitely it's gonna be like a journey. And then yeah, of course, something that learning, I think, never stops in IT, and it's something that I enjoy because you can never say you're the best in IT. There's always something new to learn. There's always something, hot coming. So, and Kubernetes is something that it rallied many people across the globe into this. Like they have lots of contributors, and yeah, it's a great
Actually,
project.
I think I forgot to ask you about AI. Like, what have you been learning on the AI front these days? Like, what do you see changing maybe in your company around AI?
So I've been fiddling with AI too. I try to stay on top. However, it's super hard because everything changes and like very quick and so on. I have to say, to the latest developments, I'm not really fully aware of this agents and all this kind of stuff. I'm aware that people move towards that. But I do use AI for productivity, for like code reviews or some sample code generation and stuff like that, to speed up some of the things. However, there are two things that I've noticed with AI that one of the things I like, one of the things I don't like. I like the fact that it makes me so much quicker, so much better in a way. However, I would say that I don't like the fact that when you use it, it stops your process of thought. Because if he gives you the answer right there and then you wouldn't put the effort to think of a solution and so on, right? So if you use it as a straight answer and so on, then it's kind of hard, because then in time, then we wouldn't get challenged to think about better solutions. But it takes a lot of skill, I think, to know what you ask, to analyze what the AI spits back to you, and understand what is there. Is this something that I want, and so on. So I definitely think there's challenges with it, but it's definitely getting much better, especially on code, especially for knowing what you want, a more personalized experience, I would say. But I am pro it. I think it's a good technological advancement, and we have to kind of learn how to get better at it and accept it and move with it, rather than let AI leave us behind.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Yeah. All right. Well, anything you want to share with the audience before we end this session?
Well, thanks everyone for joining. Thank you for having me. I think one of the things that I would like to share is that if you're somebody that haven't started Kubernetes and thinking of starting it, or somebody that's already in Kubernetes and learning it, I would say that don't think it's too hard. Just think about the next step and start learning small by small. You will end up loving it. And then if you're already there, don't give up. There's always challenges along the road. But if you just push and you study and you work and you try different things and you reach out to people when you need any sort of help and stuff, then it'll create a much better experience. Like there's a big community of people out there. There's a lot of people that enjoy helping others and so on. So yeah, it's like you're definitely going to enjoy your ride compared to doing it alone and studying alone and stuff. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Agree. Yeah, I mean, I think over the past 4 or 5 years, it's just been the community that's been driving us. We've been working on building the learning community, and the way that people help each other out. I think it's tremendous. So yeah, thanks to everyone for being very supportive within the community. Well, thank you so much, Daniel. Really appreciate the time, and hope to see you again here in the future. All the best to your certifications. All right, thanks
Likewise.
everybody, and yeah, for the great session.
Thank you. Bye bye.